So I'm Ankit Rao and I work as a senior software engineer at Zscaler. You can follow me at this is my Twitter handle, and I'll also share my QR code for LinkedIn at the end. And apart from that, I am into cloud and cloud security. So I'm a cloud and cloud security enthusiast, and I'm a recognized AWS community builder. Okay, so let's not waste time with the intro. We'll directly move ahead into the topic. So the topic for today is demystifying cloud security for multi-cloud environments using Azure's Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Okay, so yeah. The agenda for today is simple. As the name suggests, we are trying to demystify, right? So we are trying to simplify things here. So we'll just simplify what is cloud. I'll talk about the motivation, that what motivates me to deliver talks around cloud security. We'll talk about cloud security, how it is a cloud, it's a shared responsibility model. We'll learn about what actually cloud security posture management is, introduction to the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, and we'll have a brief demo that will indicate, a multi-cloud setup which has AWS, GCP, and Azure accounts onboarded, and that gives us a centralized view of the security posture of the cloud. Finally, if we have time, we'll surely take some questions. Okay, so let's get started. So what exactly is cloud, right? So I hope you're not thinking this like, so this is not cloud. But in simple terms, right, the cloud is just someone else's computer that you're using over the internet. So when you talk about cloud, so the term cloud, or the concept of cloud was coined in the early 1960s, wherein in a conference, it was mentioned that compute can be shared as a service, similar to what we share electricity, water, and whatnot, right? So a pay-as-you-go model. So whatever you use, you pay. So that's what a term was coined in the early 1960s. But as you know, right, the stereotypes are hard to break. It was not accepted then. It was said to be a foolish idea. But then after the dot-com bubble, I guess in the late 2000s, Salesforce adopted a software as a service application, which they delivered over the cloud. It was a simple CRM application that they hosted, and that is said to be the first instance of use of a cloud, and that too, it was a software as a service. Okay, so simply as I mentioned, it's just sharing of resources over the internet. So consider this as a data center. So this is some big company who has loads of compute and data servers present, and then there are we, the end users. So the office spaces, right, our homes, and any other place, basically schools, colleges, right? So if we are making use of those, computes or database engines or storage servers over the internet, this is what cloud is, as simple as that, right? And today we'll mostly be focusing around the cloud security, that how we can secure things while we are using cloud. Talking about public cloud service providers, so as I said, Salesforce was the first. Then Amazon Web Services came in with their storage and compute offering in 2002. Then there were Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and Alibaba to follow. So these are basically the cloud providers, the well-known cloud providers. There are many more, but we'll not go much into that, right? So we'll move towards our main topic. But before moving that again, so we'll have to clarify what cloud computing services are, right? So what types of services that are available. So the majority is, majority of people may know software as a service. I guess whatever applications that you're using over the internet, may it be mobile apps, may it be websites, right? So you are just an end user, you are just consuming what is being provided to you, your OTT applications, right? So that is all software as a service, right? Then there is FaaS. So FaaS and PaaS are very closely linked. FaaS is, recently coined term, you may say, it's function as a service. So basically the serverless functions currently, are categorized as FaaS. It's a bit debatable, but yeah, that's what it is. Then there is platform as a service, and then the things that we'll be covering, right, today, so the security aspects, that will be all revolving around infrastructure as a service. So what infrastructure as a service? Again, it's sharing of compute and databases over the internet, right? So this is what, this is what is the component for which we'll explore how the security is implemented, right? Okay, so this was all about cloud. So this was just a brief overview. Now we'll move towards cloud security. But before moving ahead, I always like to talk about the motivation, right? So why do I like to talk about cloud security? So, in this fast-paced world of startups, right, people tend to use cloud, but there is still a big challenge when you tell people to adopt cloud. So they are not, confident around how secure their data will be if they adopt to cloud. So this is the biggest security challenge which we want to convey the users that cloud is safe to use. And then we have data to support that as well. So if you see, the biggest security challenge, the biggest challenge for organizations engaged with public cloud or maybe who are trying to explore public cloud is security. So they fear that, their data security may be compromised, and even there is lack of, security skill set for cloud available in the market. The second part, the biggest identified cloud threats occur mostly due to misconfigurations. Okay, so what are misconfigurations, right? So while we are using cloud, it is up to us as to how we have to configure it to use it, right? So if the data states that the biggest cloud security threats are getting caused due to just misconfiguration, now that's not done, right? Because configuring the resource that we want to use, it's completely in our hands. So if that is completely in our hands, we should at least, try and implement those security best practices so that, that fear of losing data because of our misconfiguration goes out of the picture, and, which helps in implementing or, motivating us to implement cloud security. Okay, so that was about the motivation. We'll move towards what cloud security is and how it is categorized as a shared responsibility model. So cloud security in simple terms is referring to the technologies, policies, controls, and services that protect cloud data applications and infrastructure from threat. So whatever comes into picture while using the cloud. So we'll start from the data centers that are hosted by the public cloud vendors like AWS. So the physical security of data centers, then the network through which we are using those or accessing those services, that is the second point. And then the data that we are storing it, or maybe the access management policies that we are applying to those resources, all these will be covered under cloud security. And why is cloud a shared responsibility model, you may ask, right? So it's very simple, or maybe this diagram will beautifully explain it. So if you give a thought, so while we are using cloud, so the physical data servers or the data centers or the racks that come into picture, we don't know it, we don't know where they are stored, right? So if you see here the physical security aspect for IaaS, they are all the cloud providers responsibility. The host infrastructure, the network controls. Now, why is network control partially our responsibility? Because while configuring or maybe while using the cloud services, it is up to us what security groups or maybe what network we configure, which IPs to allow to access the resources. So that is why it is it is half and half. And then the application level controls, identity and access management, data classification, and data protection. So this is all our data, the end users' data who are consuming the cloud. So all this responsibility, the responsibility of the actual service that is getting used and how we are storing data and who we are allowing it to access, that all boils down to us. So that is why it is said to be a cloud security model. The best thing is you need not worry about the setup of physical racks, and it is all taken care by the cloud provider, right? So this basically increases the go-to-market speed. So in this age of startups, so that is what people want, right? They don't want to spend unnecessary time on setting up things which are readily available these days. So that's the thing. Now the second point in cloud. So while adopting to cloud, or maybe while setting up any, or maybe starting up, or maybe building any organization, right? So we need to comply to certain security standards. And why so? Why you may say so, right? So this is because every industry will have some rules to basically say that this application is secure, or maybe guarantees that these security policies are getting followed, and this product is good to use, or basically certified for use, right? So these are some of the cloud security compliance standards. So first is the CIS, which is Center for Internet Security. There is NIST, there is PCI DSS, there is HIPAA, and there is ISO. I'll talk about a few and I'll relate it to the organization needs, or maybe what sector they belong to. So for example, if you open your PhonePe or Paytm app, right, so you may see this PCI DSS logo and PCI DSS compliant logo, right? So why is that so? Because Paytm and PhonePe both are fintech related entities. They are fintech applications which deal with financial transactions. And the PCI DSS benchmark is basically, the full form is basically the payment cardholder information data security standard. So this basically deals with fintech organizations and guarantees that certain security standards should be followed while you are developing or hosting any fintech related application. So any fintech startup or organization that you may follow, they must be worried about PCI DSS compliance. Okay. One more example is HIPAA. So HIPAA is a healthcare standard that is established by the US. So if your organization is into any healthcare business, right? So this is where, HIPAA compliance standard comes into picture. Okay, so you have to adhere to HIPAA policies, and that is when you will be, said to be compliant to following HIPAA standards, right? So okay, so we talked about cloud security. So we talked about what is cloud security, right? Now we'll talk about why cloud security, right? So we talked about why cloud security as well, basically saying that, to ensure the customer data or the user data is protected, and there is a sense of trust while using the application. That is why we need cloud security or security in general. Now we'll explain how, now we'll talk about how we can achieve that, right? And before moving there, we'll talk about the challenges involved in implementing cloud security. So the first thing, as I talked, so there is lack of cloud security architecture and strategy. So with the startup race that we have, the go-to-market pace that we want to be the first in the market. So the architecture that takes place initially, I guess we may have heard in the earlier talks as well, the security is considered in the last, right? So it's not considered at the first, which is most important, right? It comes into picture only when there is a breach, when it's too late. So that's the, that's the worst thing that we tend to do, or maybe organization tend to do. So this is one thing. The second thing is, it is difficult to understand cloud security because of the distributed and ever-changing nature of the cloud. So if you see, you don't know, right, where your data is getting stored. It's stored in some region or some data center of the public cloud provider. The data is flowing here and there, and if you are enabling global replication, so it's ever-changing nature, correct? So that's another challenge while implementing cloud security. Then there is lack of personal experience. So there are a lot of cloud providers in the market, right? So implementing cloud security for each and every one of them, trying to understand the security feature, it's a lot of overhead. And on top of that, you need to follow the security standards, right, while implementing cloud security. So we saw the security standards earlier. So understanding all the standards in the first place becomes very, it becomes very hard, and it's impossible for a person to understand each and every standard and try and comply to it, right? So these are the main regions or challenges that are involved in implementing cloud security, right? So that is where this cloud security posture management comes into picture. So this term was basically coined, to tackle the ever-changing nature of cloud, and Gartner defined it as a continuous process of cloud security improvement and adaptation to reduce the likelihood of a successful attack. Now this term was basically introduced because of the unique nature of cloud, right? It's ever changing, it's distributed, so you can't apply your standard security measures to cloud. So that is where the answer to our problems, that is how to implement cloud security, came. So basically, by following the cloud security posture management, we can identify the risks and then accordingly act to implement cloud security. So how CSPM helps us with? So the first thing is, it helps in developing and enforcing end-to-end security policies. So whatever configuration related security or whatever policies related to security, it helps us develop those. The second thing is, it will help us with risk and vulnerability assessment. So whatever vulnerabilities are introduced into your application, knowingly or unknowingly, right, it will help you with the assessment of those. And then it will provide a compliance monitoring dashboard as well as incident response along with DevOps integration. So basically this will help you integrate the security aspects of cloud into your DevOps pipelines as well, so that you can automate security as well. So this is what a basic cloud security posture management means, right? Maybe I'll take a pause here. I've been talking a lot. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take it now. Yeah, please. Sorry? Yeah, so that's what you are coming to. Okay. Any further questions? Okay. Okay, I'll take that as a no. So now we have learned, I mean, why, what, and how, right?
Hello.
So how we are
Hello.
going to implement cloud security.
Hello.
So then what to do? So what Azure came up with? So Azure came up with its own native cloud security posture management solution. That is the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So as we talked about cloud CSPM, right? So this is a CSPM tool that Azure provides, which is for security posture management and threat protection. It protects workloads running in Azure, hybrid, and cloud and other cloud platforms as well. So this second point, right? So this second point is, I mean, what I feel personally is the, it gives Defender for Cloud the edge, because no other cloud providers currently supports multi-cloud, right? And given the nature of, given the trends in the industry these days, so no one is using a single cloud. There are various reasons for it, right? Because each cloud comes up with its own speciality, has its own advantages, right? So organizations basically tend to leverage the best of each, and they are mostly hosted in multi-cloud, and they also have some certain, very critical components or maybe very sensitive components on-prem. So it's a very hybrid architecture that industries these days opt for. So with Microsoft Defender for Cloud, that that problem of having your resources or workloads distributed across clouds is also handled. Further, Defender also provides the tools needed to harden your resources, track your posture, protect against cyber attacks, and streamline security management, right? So what not does it do, correct? So I mean, at least to start off, it's a great tool which will help us, I mean, which will help everyone to get a brief insight of the security posture of your cloud workloads. Okay. Moving ahead with the features. So the features that Defender provides is it continuously assesses. So once you enable Defender for Cloud, it will continuously assess your resources. So for cloud, the most important thing is, with the ever-changing nature of cloud, you'll need details of maybe the inventory of what cloud resources you are using. So this will provide you an asset inventory. Asset inventory will basically list all the workloads that you are using on cloud. Okay. This will provide a secure score. It will provide regulatory compliance related mapping and file integrity monitoring. So I'll maybe just cover a brief around secure score and regulatory compliance. So secure score is basically a score that Defender provides, which indicates the health or maybe the security health of your subscription or your AWS account or your GCP project. Okay, so what this does is it will rate you out of 100, I mean a percentage, that what percent secure your environment is. Basically this, I mean, given the Indian mentality, right? So when we see percentages and numbers, right, we always tend to be on the higher side. So this basically motivates users to get a higher secure score and ensures basically the workloads that you are using are secure. It provides vulnerability assessments, so vulnerabilities inside your applications that may have got installed knowingly or unknowingly. This is also detected. Asset inventory, as I said, the list of all workloads you are using, and regulatory compliance, the most important part. So when I said or talked about the regulatory compliance standards like CIS, HIPAA, and PCI DSS, I mean, it's very difficult to understand what control they want us to implement, right? So Defender, what it does is it will provide an easy to understand policy for us and map it to a specific security standard. What it does is we understand the simply mentioned security policy, and if we follow the steps and take remediation actions, it automatically helps us achieve compliance towards that specific benchmark. Okay. So for example, if a CIS benchmark states that encryption should be enabled, so Defender will provide us with the brief of what the policy states, why is it necessary for. It will also provide us with remediation actions, what actions are to be taken. If we just follow those, it will just give us one tick mark on the CIS benchmark or any other benchmark that talks about encrypting data. Okay. The disclaimer here though is, even if you follow all the policies that the Defender provides, you will not, it doesn't guarantee that you are given a certain regulatory standard, or you are following, or maybe you are certified with a regulatory standard. And I'll give you the reason as well why that is so. I mean, we'll cover that in the demo as well, but before going there, so there are certain options available in the Defender. So while you are using cloud, in certain cases you have to knowingly or unknowingly maybe keep a certain component public for the application to work, right? So Defender will identify it as a threat and tell you to close the public connections. But you can't do that because your application won't run without that. So in such cases, it allows you to exclude that particular resource from scan. Okay, so now if a user goes ahead and maybe just excludes all the resources, he'll see 100% score, but that doesn't mean he has followed all the policies, right? So that is why Azure does not guarantee, even if on the Defender portal you'll see that you are 100% compliant with CIS, HIPAA and everything, there may be a chance that you may have just gone ahead and excluded certain resources. So that is why Azure doesn't take guarantee, but yeah, it actually helps you, attain a certain level of security. The second thing is secure. I guess I already talked about it. So it will help you harden the resources about whatever security policies that it has mentioned about, and then it will also help you defend. So there is a security alert integration that is available in Defender. So you can configure maybe the security teams or any person you want to notify in case a security security thing or maybe a security misconfiguration happens in your account. So that security team or your security as admin is automatically alerted, and then they can take the responsive action of maybe implementing the remediation steps there. So that is where Defender for Clouds helps us with attaining CSPM, right? So I'll again take a pause before we move towards the demo. So if there are any questions, I'm open to it. Okay, so I hope this is visible to everyone. Going to Defender, so we'll cover 3 aspects: setting up the Defender, we'll see the inventory related data that it collects, and then we will maybe try to cover some compliance standards. So navigating to the Defender is easy. You just search it on the global search bar. I have pinned it in my dashboard itself. Okay, so this is the default view of the Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Okay, this is how it looks. So currently I have an Azure subscription, AWS account and GCP projects onboarded. First we'll move towards the settings. Okay, so how do we set this up? So you go to the environment settings in the left hand tab. Now here you will see the list of all subscriptions that you want to enable. Now this is for Azure, okay? So for Azure it's just enable disable because it's an Azure product. So I'll just enable, I have already enabled it for my subscription here. I just go to environment settings and I just select the Defender plan. So there is a free plan available as well, which is a good head start. I mean, if you are new to cloud and just want to explore some basic aspects, it's very good. I mean, you can just try and explore, and it will at least start your cloud journey. Okay. So now you just select the plan there. Then the second option is setting up notifications. So as I talked about, right, you can send alerts based on whatever changes are occurring in your system. So you can just map your alerts and set up your admin's account here. Okay. The third thing that I'll cover is the security policies. So security policies basically the compliance standards that Azure can support. So by default only a few standards are enabled, but if you want you can just add different standards as well. So if you see here, scroll down to industry and regulatory standards. Here you can find PCI DSS, ISO, SOC TSP and CIS as well. So if you just enable this, what Azure will do is it will just map its security content to these network controls. So whatever these security standards are talking, they'll just map that easy to understand policy to this security standard. Okay, so this is as simple as that for Azure. I mean, there's nothing else to do. The next thing is configuring Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform, and now you must be seeing there are 2 preview items, GitHub and Azure DevOps. So before moving to that demo, I mean, this is new to me, but I'll just talk what it is currently trying to do. So these days, I mean, there is a boom for infrastructure as a code, right? So you are writing your codes, or maybe there is a boom for code security scanner, application code security scanners, right? So what Azure is trying to do is, or what Defender is trying to do is also explore those aspects. So if you integrate your GitHub and maybe your Azure DevOps with your repositories, it will scan your code and provide vulnerabilities from the code as well, okay? Currently, I have not configured. I mean, I just configured, but I couldn't get retrieve data because it just has my sample files, which has some simple Terraform code. But yeah, that's what it does. It's in preview feature. You can explore it. It's in its preview, so it's free. Basically, all preview features are free. So you can just go ahead and maybe have a complex code onboard that GitHub repository. Again, it's very simple. You just have to create a GitHub app, and that is how authorization takes place in this case. We'll talk about how to onboard an AWS account. Okay, so people who may be into AWS, as I talked about IAM roles, so that is what it does. So you just need to provide a connector name. It can be any name here. We can give it as say demo account. I'll just add 123 here. Then the subscription, you can create a resource group where the resources data will be stored basically. And then if you select the plans, so plans again, here I have to enter the account ID. I'll just enter a random account ID. 9012. Okay, so here are plans. So basically the free part is what I would suggest everyone to explore for now. Later on, once you have a good understanding of what the free plan is providing, you can move ahead. Configuring access, as I said, it provides a cloud formation template. So cloud formation template is a deployment tool written in deployment file that is written in YAML or JSON. So it will provide you that, and it will create these rules. So these are different types of reader permissions that the defender wants, so that it can scan your AWS account. So once you create those, you can just click on next review and generate, and voila, your account will be onboarded, okay, to Microsoft Defender, and this is how it will appear here, okay. The second thing that I wanted to cover in the demo is the inventory. So as I said, because of the ever-changing nature of the cloud, we want the cloud visibility, right? So this is where the data is visible to us. We get details of all the resources that we are using. So if you see here here my AWS accounts are also coming up, my Azure VM is also coming up. These are my AWS EC2 security groups coming up. So if you see, for each resource there is some security score attached as well, right? So again, a very easy to understand view. The next thing is the security posture, as I talked. So it will give you a score out of 100 for each of your accounts. So my Azure and my security health is currently bad because I just onboarded it for demo purposes. So if you just go to any of the security this thing, and you just click on maybe the recommendations for it, right? So I'll just go to say Azure recommendations for now. So it will show all the recommendations, what I need to do. So for example, it tells me to enable MFA for some of my service accounts or users. It is not enabled. MFA, you may know, right? Multi-factor authorization. Again, a very easy to understand view that this is not done, and this you have to implement, right? Similar with the security management ports. It tells us that some of the ports are public and you need to remediate that. Then applying system updates, encrypt data in transit. So that is what Cloud Defender is trying to tell us. And the last thing in the demo, the regulatory compliance. So the easy to understand policies now are mapped to the security standards. So I'll just maybe go through PCI DSS. Okay, so if you see here, the PCI DSS just provides these statements: install and maintain a firewall configuration to protect cardholder data. Now it will take us hours or maybe days to understand what actual things we need to do. But what Azure is doing here, if you just click on it, it will provide us all the steps or maybe all the policies you need to follow to achieve that certain security detail that PCI DSS is trying to tell us. Okay. So again, these are very easy to understand. If you see here, prohibit direct public access between the internet and any system. This we are understanding that maybe there is some security group or network component which is public, and we just have to prohibit it, right? So very easy to understand here. So, and again, it will give you a per resource view as well. So if you just click on maybe this, we'll go to security posture. View recommendations. If you go here, okay, on the actual policy screen, it will give you the description. This is what I was trying to tell. It will tell you the remediation steps. What are the actual steps you need to do? So you need to navigate to a certain portal, go to a certain setting, and then enable it. So very easy to understand steps it will give, and it will also provide you details about the unhealthy resources. So currently this is the unhealthy resource that I have, which I have to remediate. So this it will give for all the security policies that you have in place. Okay, so this was a very short demo that I wanted to add on. We'll maybe move back to the PPT. I don't know how to do that. Play from current slide. Okay. So we'll just go ahead quickly because we are short of time. So this is a brief of what types of security findings that it provided, the Defender provided us. Related to lack of encryption, overly liberal permissions, no MFA, misconfigured networks, data storage exposed to internet, and encryption related aspects. Then we have a few limitations as well with Defender. So given security is ever evolving, Defender too has to be, evolving and adapt to changes. So currently it's in the initial phase, and there is still a good room for improvement. There is no on-demand scan facility. So currently it's scanning your resources every 24 hours or 48 hours. There is no button which will tell that scan my resource now, because you may want it, right? Say you remediated a certain resource, you may want to see the change quickly that, yeah, this resource is now remediated. So that facility is currently not there. And the alert mechanism is yet to improve. So, for alerting, they are having their own ML models. So those models, will over time learn things and, improve over time. It comes at a price. So currently the pricing is quite competitive. So for different types of resources, there is different pricing segment. And these prices are almost common across all cloud providers. I mean, for EC2 instances, serverless functions, they are all the same. I've added some reference links as well. So if I may share the deck, you may have access to the resources, right? So this is Ankit Rao again signing off, and thank you all for being a patient audience.